Welcome back, guys, to the Sooner Saloon. I'll be joined with Taylor Reed and Emerson Campbell, and we're going to give you guys a 2023 expectations and schedule breakdown. Welcome back, guys, to the Sooner Saloon. I'm joined with Taylor Reed and Emerson Campbell. Today, we're going to give you guys some 2023 expectations of the schedule and break it down for you. Also, a little bit of a roster update through fall camp. So guys, let's go ahead and get down with kind of the 2023 expectations of the schedule. The schedule's a lot more navigable than what it was a season ago. A season ago we're losing to Kansas State, we're losing to Baylor, we're losing to Texas Tech, West Virginia, Florida State, all within 7 points. And then four of those are by 3 points or less.
5. TCU and Texas. Those are the only two blowouts we had.
Yep. Those are the only two. But out of those 5 losses there, 3 points or less is what it came down to.
Right.
Besides Kansas State.
One possession.
So, how do you guys feel about this schedule for one?
So with our last year being in the Big 12, I'm kind of glad it's a soft schedule. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Emerson, what do you think?
Yeah, finally the Big 12 throws Oklahoma a bone, the breadwinner of the conference a bone, and gives them an easy schedule.
I mean, we're going to need it because next year, did you see our SEC schedule for next year? It is ruthless, man. It's ruthless. So we need some momentum going into the SEC.
It's a welcome to the SEC 2024 schedule.
Yep, here we go.
Precisely.
So what
Yep.
what I was going to say is Texas comes in as the preseason favorite to win the Big 12, followed by Kansas State at number 2 and Oklahoma at 3. So I agree with those 3 rankings for the most part for the Big 12. They actually have Texas Tech at 4. I'm not going to lie, I put Kansas at 4.
That's reasonable. I think Texas Tech and Kansas are going to be good teams. And they're those teams that are maybe not expected to win the Big 12 championship or be there, but they're the type of teams that could knock off an OU, a Kansas State, a Texas.
Right. Guys, we only got, from what it looks like in preseason, we got 2 ranked matchups. I mean, one's in a neutral site, and that's Texas, and the other one's at home, TCU. I mean, the schedule really doesn't look too bad at all. So we were 6-7 last year, okay? We could have easily been 10-2 in the regular season. And if you think about it, Dylan Gabriel getting hurt, Oklahoma was pretty much in that TCU game for like the first quarter and a half or so until they started getting blown out when they didn't have Dylan Gabriel. But I'm telling you, I don't think we would have beaten Texas last year with Dylan Gabriel, but sure as shit wouldn't have been 49-0.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though, guys. This upcoming season, say like it was the same exact team from a year ago, okay? I think they could get through the schedule, and I think they could win 10 games.
Yeah.
I don't think we have to improve by such a wide margin, to go 10-2, to go 11-1 with this new schedule. So, but with that being said, I think the defense is going to take some really big strides. I think the offense has a lot to prove. We have some lack of depth at O-line, not a whole lot of depth at wide receiver. I mean,
okay, I was talking to this about Emerson. How many years, as an OU fan, Emerson, have we went into the schedule or to the season and we're like, oh, we don't have a wide receiver this year, and then some breakout wide receiver comes out?
Yeah. I mean, pretty much every year. I mean, Broyles, Shepard, Stills, Mims.
I mean,
since 2000, there's always been. It seems like there's always been a guy.
And to go even before that, when those guys like Shepard's still around when he was still young, but Jalen Saunders stood out.
Dude, he did.
And
Yeah,
he looked like he was winning. Maybe
he was a
40.
tiny little guy, but he was holding on to them catches versus Alabama pretty good.
He was.
Yeah. One of my favorite Oklahoma games, by the way.
My favorite one is probably the Ohio State Oklahoma game, and my second favorite's Alabama. But we're getting off topic. I'm sorry.
So yeah, we'll get back to that.
I want to let you guys know for this 2023 schedule. Okay, I think the ceiling is 11-1 with maybe a loss to Texas. That's the only team that thoroughly has a better roster than Oklahoma.
Right.
But that game could go either way. We know that. The floor, I think the worst that they're going to do, I think, is the 7-5. There's potential matchups that I think could lose, and I'm saying that's the absolute worst. The worst that they possibly could do, 7-5.
7-5. I can see that. I think Oklahoma realistically should be 5-0 going into the Red River Shootout.
I would agree with you.
I mean,
Yeah.
realistically.
Yes. Yes.
So the September 2nd is actually an 11 a.m. kickoff, whatever. It's Arkansas State. It's not that big of a deal. But they got Arkansas State at home. I'm assuming y'all think they're going to win that.
It
Yes.
should be a blowout.
Do you think it'll be a blowout? Think it'll be close? Do you think it'll be one of those games where they're
Yes.
close at first and everybody starts losing their minds on Twitter and then they start
It
kicking
should
their
be
ass?
defense owns the game, and backups are getting in the second half.
It should
Yeah.
be, and I hope
If it's the game on the schedule where if Oklahoma gives up 17 points, the fan base will be pissed, and
Yeah.
rightfully so.
Yeah.
I mean, they shouldn't give up 10 points. So,
Right.
yeah, I think that,
so
that one's
that's
pretty
a
easy.
dub for everybody.
So what about SMU the following week?
So
They still have Oklahoma's waist, right? Mordecai?
No, he transferred to Wisconsin, I believe.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay. So, yeah, then yes. Without Mordecai, who, I mean, he was pretty good. He was
And
decent.
if
He
I'm
was
not-
solid.
if I'm
He
not
wasn't
wrong-
bad at
Without
all.
him, then yes.
If I'm not
I
wrong,
think,
I think Nick Evers transferred to Wisconsin too, so they're just loading up on OU quarterbacks down in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So
they're taking it off the scrap heap of Oklahoma quarterbacks. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So without Mordecai, then yeah, I think SMU. It could be a little bit more exciting, maybe in the first quarter.
Yeah.
But Oklahoma should run away with it.
I do too. I got Oklahoma winning that one pretty convincingly. I
Yeah.
got SMU scoring more points than Arkansas State. And these are our predictions now.
From what we know now.
On August 17th of 2023. This could change this will change going on down the road.
and of course we're biased towards OU, so it is
Obviously,
what it
yes.
is. We all are.
So
That's why our fans listen.
yeah, there you go. So so we all three got Arkansas State and SMU winning both those games, right?
At ease.
Yep. 2-0.
Okay, all right. So the third game is September 16th at Tulsa.
A lot of fans are like, well, why are we going to Tulsa? It's a good recruiting spot for Oklahoma. You go into Tulsa, you get recruits. A lot of players show up to that. It's big.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to
You win the
I just
state.
wanted to make that clear.
Yeah. You win the state, which is a big thing that in recruiting, which is a big thing a lot of fans have complained about, is Oklahoma not getting the best guys out of Oklahoma. So, yeah.
Right.
And this isn't the Oklahoma State-Tulsa rivalry that I think will develop once Oklahoma goes to the SEC. The in-state rivalry of the Cowboys and the Golden Hurricane. So this isn't Oklahoma State going to Tulsa week 8 or whatever to actually make it
Primetime
interesting,
game.
because Tulsa has made it interesting with Oklahoma State a couple years in a row. But this is Oklahoma, and there's only one. So, yeah, I think
like that jab.
you take a good solid W, and you show the in-state recruits why they should go to Oklahoma.
Right.
So let's get a little bit more interesting, because we all know that we will be 3-0 in those first weeks, and if we don't go 3-0,
hope.
we should be very concerned. And then we're going to be looking at that
Yes.
7-5 floor that I was thinking of. Anyways, we have on the road at Cincinnati the following week. Cincinnati's not expected to be, top tier of the Big 12.
But that don't
They should
mean
be lower
shit.
tier, but we go on the road at Cincinnati. And it's early. You don't know what you're going to get at Cincinnati. Obviously, they were in the playoff a couple years back, but they've lost Luke Fickell. Some roster turnover since then, but it's still a game that should be highlighted, in my opinion.
It's the Big 12 opener for the new Big 12 team. So they're going to be amped.
Yeah.
And it's against the class of the Big 12, which is the Oklahoma Sooners. So yeah, they're circling that and they're saying if we get a W here, that's a big statement. That's a big.
And it's a lot of momentum for your team.
Yes, a lot of momentum. It says, "Hey, Cincinnati's here in the Big 12, and we're ready to party." You know,
Right,
so,
and if
it's going to be a lot of juice.
if that's a primetime game, oh boy, it could go south. It could.
It could, but
From what I've heard, Fox will want to have. From what I've heard, Fox will want to have Oklahoma in as many big noon kickoff games as possible because this is their last year of having the ability to slate Oklahoma in that 11 a.m. schedule for big noon kickoff.
Yeah.
12 o'clock Eastern time. So I would assume it's going to be an 11 a.m. kick, but still, like what I said, you know, with Cincinnati being a new Big 12 member, but also Brett Yormark's the Big 12 homecoming thing that he's announced, where, you know, and it's going to be basically a whole season-wide party at those campuses, and the first four teams of the Big 12 block party thing, whatever he calls it, is going to be the four new members. So yeah, there is going to be a lot of juice on campus, but their stadium really isn't that big. I don't even think it holds 40,000 people. So how wild can
It was
get,
a good
you know?
game back in 2013
but
when we
they
played
played
them.
in the Cincinnati Bengals Stadium.
Oh, did they?
Yep.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
So
Yeah.
I mean,
So that's like 80,000 people.
You guys, I have 4 to 5 games that should be highlighted that are going to be quality games, close games that, you know, Oklahoma could fall short on because they're going to fall short this season, whether
It's
we
gonna
want to admit
happen.
that or not. Cincinnati is one of those games to just look out for. You know, obviously they should handle
Right.
Cincinnati, but you just never know because it's college football. This is why we watch it. That's why we
Yes.
love the sport. So going into Iowa State.
Are we all agreeing that they're going to win that game or what?
I would, yeah.
I'd say 80-20 Oklahoma wins.
Me too.
Yes.
Pretty good.
So
75-25.
So all four of us got Oklahoma right now at 4-0.
At 4-0. At 4-0. So we go on. We move to Iowa State. It's a home game. We played in Ames last season. They've had some issues with their quarterback doing the whole gambling thing, and it's kind of an issue. He shouldn't be the starter. What I'm aware of, he's not even participating in fall camp. So I have OU winning that one, and I have them winning fairly convincingly.
I did
That's
too.
not really anything that I have
I did too.
highlighted on within this schedule based on the recent news with them.
I do too. I agree. I mean, we all know Iowa State can sneak up on you, but
In the Lincoln Riley era, yes.
yes, they can. So, side note, not to extend this anymore, Nick and Malik one year, they're just like randomly.
Thank you for bringing that up.
They're just like randomly, hey, we're gonna go to the Oklahoma game at the last minute. So they got the tickets and they drove all the way down to Norman for the OU Iowa State game. And that was when they broke out the Rough Riders all red uniforms. And I was texting him and Malik the whole time, hey, they're gonna lose because I didn't show up. Hey, they're gonna lose because they didn't show up. And they fucking
2017, when we just beat Ohio State a couple weeks earlier, we lose to Iowa State at home.
Way to
after a
Way to jinx
14-0
it,
lead.
Reed.
Anyway, so we all got that. So
Yeah.
we're all gonna say Oklahoma's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-0 going into
5-0 going into Texas. Red Ribbon.
and also don't forget Iowa State's defense. I mean, there are some other players in Iowa State that are dealing with the gambling issue as well.
Yes.
As their starting quarterback. They had the best defense in the Big 12 last year, and Oklahoma still put up points on them. So if we expect the defense to take a step, as well as Iowa State not having their starting quarterback, then yes, it could get ugly. You know,
Right.
I'm talking 30 plus to less than 10. It's
Right. So here we are. All of us agree Oklahoma's going to win that game for now. So here we are now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oklahoma's 5-0. Okay, they haven't been 5-0 since going into the Red River Shootout 2022 or no 2021. Sorry. So Oklahoma's riding on some momentum. They go into Dallas and they play Texas. At this point, Texas could have one loss to Alabama, or who knows, Texas could have just went into Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama. We both saw last year that Texas had the firepower to beat Alabama. So it is not out of the question for Texas to have a W against Alabama, right? Am I right?
Yeah, it's especially when Alabama's dealing with finding a new quarterback.
You know,
there's been controversy
Exactly.
behind it too. They expected one guy to have it, and he hasn't quite taken over that job, and it's still an open competition when Texas is fully confident in Quinn Ewers and what they have returning. You know, they practically return the whole offense. You know, they lose Bijan Robinson, but what I'm hearing is they've reloaded at that running back position, and we all know that Texas recruits well. They return literally their whole offensive line. They have Xavier Worthy. They have multiple receivers. They got a transfer from Georgia who played really well in the college football playoff. Also have another receiver that I'm not thinking of his name, but he has great experience and have a quality defensive line too. So this game, I don't expect OU to win. Can they win it? Sure, they can. But I'm not convinced that they will.
right. I'm the same way. I can see Oklahoma win this game, and they're more than capable of winning this game. I think they have the firepower. I think they have the experience. And on top of that, people don't realize this is not the NFL. In college football, these teams ride off of momentum. And with Oklahoma being 5-0, they could go in there and beat Texas. You know? But I'm being neutral on this point. I don't see Oklahoma as of right now, August 17th. I don't see Oklahoma beating Texas right now. Does that make sense? I'm not
100%.
being a Debbie Downer or anything like that. But realistically, I don't see Oklahoma beating Texas right now.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm going to cheer my ass off when they play them, but
And they're fully capable, and we've expressed
Right.
that. But yeah, you're right. I mean, they have the better roster. They have, honestly, the better players. But it's a rivalry game, and OU still has a good roster and good players. And it's clear that OU is probably the second best team in the Big 12 as far as a roster standpoint.
right. Emerson, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Texas is the most talented roster in the Big 12. We all saw what they did to Oklahoma last year. Sorry to bring it up, but
Sorry we were running the
So-
goddamn Wildcat with our tight end when we were playing that game.
Dude.
But anyways, I'm
oh
sorry.
my fucking
Emerson.
god!
That was the only
I
game
almost,
that
I almost turned it off. I almost was like,
did.
well,
I turned
I
it
might as well
off.
just enjoy my Saturday.
You know
that,
how
that
many,
game was rough.
You know how many comment sections I heard of like people talking good about Dylan Gabriel and like seeing a graphic and then, well, he didn't play good against Texas. Well, he wasn't even starting. You freaking idiot. Obviously, you don't even
was
pay
fucking
attention
out,
to
yeah.
College football, but you're passionate enough to get in the comments
Dude, we had our
section.
tight end playing quarterback at Wildcat. I'm not going to lie. We were in the game for the first quarter, kind of like in 2005. We were beating Texas.
You old head.
Whatever.
You old head.
Dude, at one point we were beating Texas in 2005. At one point
that's
we
like-
were.
That
Why don't we
dude, that's
talk-
like saying, "Oh, when I started the test, I hadn't missed any questions," and then you end up getting
Right.
46 on it. Like, yeah, the first quarter it's going to be close.
Dude, I mean, I got it. Whatever. Keep going. Sorry.
No, okay, yeah. So yes, Texas obviously the most talented roster in the Big 12 as far as 4 and 5 stars goes. If Dylan Gabriel stays healthy, which I think will be interesting because I think they're going to be willing to run him more often now that they have an actual legitimate backup in Jackson Arnold. So I think that Dylan Gabriel will see a little bit more running action, but they're also not playing TCU right before Texas like they did last year. And TCU had a knack. TCU had a knack for taking out starting quarterbacks in the Big 12. They took out like 4 starting quarterbacks in play last year. TCU.
You know who
did,
I blame
by
for
just
that?
not.
I blame the offensive
Lincoln Riley.
coordinator. I blame the offensive
I-
coordinator, Garrett Riley.
I blame Lincoln Riley.
It all comes back to the Riley tree. Exactly. Yes. Yes.
Anyways.
So, I mean, no. Obviously, I don't want Dylan Gabriel to be out for this game, But if he does, you still have someone that can actually complete a fucking 4-yard pass.
Yeah.
A 4-yard forward pass in the game.
Who's not named
So-
Braden Willis or Eric Gray.
Dude, that
Yeah.
was bad.
And dude, yeah, and I mean, if you if you could give people on the roster a truth serum going into the Texas game, if they knew, okay, Dylan Gabriel's out, he's not playing, and Davis Bevel is your starting quarterback. If you gave them the truth serum, you're like, yeah, we're not going to win, and you saw it on the field, 49-0. I mean, the defense gave up. The offense didn't. I mean, they weren't going to do anything.
Texas let off the gas.
I think that.
They did.
Yeah,
They did.
I think this year's Red River rivalry will be a completely different story. The other wide receiver that Texas has that's really good, supposed to be really good, I think is Jordan Whittington.
That is
Nick?
correct.
I think
That's
that's
it. That's it.
Yes. Yep. So I mean, yeah. As far as skill players and offensive line go, yeah, Texas is loaded. Obviously, they lose Bijan Robinson. I mean, the best running back in the country last year. Fight me. But they always have depth there. I think it'll be a fun game. I think it'll be a very interesting game. But I do think Oklahoma takes their first loss of the season in the Red River rivalry down in Dallas.
And we could see a secondary matchup later on in the season. That's
Right.
not
Right.
impossible. That's
Right.
very likely.
2018, it happened. So
Yep.
Right.
win the one that
I
matters.
foresee.
Yep,
I
it's hard to
foresee.
beat the same team twice. We found that out in 2018.
I foresee. I foresee Oklahoma losing by maybe 9.
Yeah.
9.
Not
That's-
10, 11. Yeah.
Is that? I mean, that's not.
Yeah, that's reasonable. It's reasonable.
Yeah.
You know what? You know, it is what it is. So after
We're not homer. We might be fans of Oklahoma, but we're not homers.
Right.
You know, we're not optimists where
right.
We have enough knowledge of college football in general to have these expectations and give you guys our opinions. You may disagree, you may agree, but you know, if you are a college football fan who's up to date, I mean, I think you'd be on the same page.
My national championship pick is Oklahoma and some other team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's.
And you can't forget you also cannot forget Texas does have a good defense.
They do.
They do have
They do.
They had a good defense
Right.
last year. They lost a nose tackle, and I don't know who else they lost in the draft. But they had a good defense last year. It was, one of the higher ranked defenses in the Big 12. So
Right.
And I mean, yeah, especially I think if they lose to Alabama, Oklahoma fans should be more worried about that game. If they beat Alabama, I think Oklahoma fans should kind of have that, that sly grin on their face saying, oh, yeah, you think you're high and mighty because you beat Alabama, but it's week to week. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's also another thing.
more
that'll
motivation
play
to go into it.
And that's not what you're going to hear from a sports,
Yeah,
analyst
no,
or anything.
that's-
You're not going to hear. You're not going to hear
That's,
analysts.
that's
why I said
someone who has
analyst.
an
I said
open
analyst.
perspective on
Analyst.
OU, Texas,
Analyst.
college
That's
football
what I
in
said.
general.
Same thing. It doesn't
Anyways,
matter. It's
let's
like
move on,
grammar.
fellas. Let's move on.
They got a bye right after that. They got a bye week
So then we would move to UCF at Oklahoma
after
This
a
is
bye.
After a bye week. So obviously Dylan Gabriel played. His former team was UCF. Jeff Levy coached at UCF. There's a lot of headlines going into it, but I think OU should be able to handle them. They do have a very good quarterback. I do not know his name, but he is a two-sport athlete. Plays quarterback and he also plays baseball, and he's very athletic. That's really my only concern, the only thing that I've heard about UCF. But
Right.
I think the UCF is kind of like a team like Kansas, who could sneak up on you and who could upset you if you don't bring your A game and you're not mentally prepared. So what do you guys think about UCF?
I think
in that
Oklahoma will take the dub.
situation? Okay.
I think Oklahoma wins, but I do think this is one of the more interesting
Yeah.
matchups on the schedule. Like you said, Nick, John Plumlee, their quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
He's a senior. He's very experienced. He's played in a lot of games. That always means something in college football. It's a big atmosphere playing at Oklahoma. That one I could see being a night game.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie, especially if UCF starts off hot. And their head coach is Gus Malzahn.
Yes.
He won a national championship with Auburn.
Yeah. Yep.
And I don't think that he right out of the gate going into the Big 12 will have, the success that a lot of people expect him to, but he's in Florida. He's going to get recruiting classes.
You're absolutely right.
He's going to get talent, and he's going to have enough talent, I would say, in the next 2 to 3 years to be able to compete at a high level in the Big 12 and, possibly make some college football playoffs. All he needs is I say all he needs. All he needs is another Cam Newton, to basically get that done for him.
But thing is, you already said it.
If you're going to find anyone, it's in Florida.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, you already said it. He's coaching in Florida. He has that experience with coaching with Auburn, and that's just one of those things. He could be one of those top-tier Big 12 teams in the future. So
So we all agree we think Oklahoma will win that one?
I think a win.
I think they win, but that's one of the games that I had highlighted.
Yeah.
Okay.
On to watch out for.
Oklahoma squeaks out 2 scores or less.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we both have them at this point 6-1, and that's matching the same amount of wins as they had in 2022. The next game, October 28th, is going to be at Kansas, and I'm going to tell you guys now. This is at Kansas in Lawrence. I'm going to tell you that I'm going to make a prediction. Kansas is going to be ranked, and it's going to be at night.
Okay.
They're going to be ranked.
You and I have discussed this, that Kansas potentially could win, 9 to 10 games.
It's not out of the question.
If Jalen Daniels is healthy, they could have that type of season.
They would have beaten Oklahoma last year if they would have had him. In my opinion, maybe. I mean, their defense was trash like ours, but I think our defense was just a little bit better than theirs.
Barely. By a couple.
Oklahoma had better athletes.
That's the only reason. Yeah, that's why they won.
Yep.
And they were wearing this jersey during that game.
The debut of the Unity jersey.
Right. I think those are some.
I would love to steal that jersey. Anyways.
Emerson, you got to admit these Unity jerseys are awesome.
I like Oklahoma finally has a black jersey.
It's like
we
a
need to
dark
wear it at night.
Amersythe or whatever it's called.
Right. I'm curious. Yeah. I'm curious to see if they'll break out an away version of that this year. But that's off the topic. But so I know. Kansas is actually renovating their stadium, but it's not going to start till after the 2023 football season.
And it looks amazing too.
It does. So we won't have to worry about going into that. I think Oklahoma's going to beat Kansas, in my opinion.
I would agree, but I want to tell you guys something that maybe you didn't know. Kansas returns about 90% of the protection on offense, okay? If we do not improve defensively, Kansas is going to have a heyday, okay? So Oklahoma has to come in prepared, and believe it or not, for all you guys watching, do not get distracted by the name of Kansas, okay? They do have good athletes. They had 3 players ranked in the top 100 of
Gabe's holding his beer cup up at us.
Gabe's a huge Kansas fan.
He's our unsung hero back there.
He's not even a huge Kansas basketball fan. He loves Kansas football.
Not basketball.
Ironic. Anyways.
Correct.
Anyways, Kansas has 3 top 100 players, and OU has 2, okay? Just something to take away from that. But this is also one of the games that I had highlighted. So Oklahoma has to bring it. Oklahoma has to improve on defense, which I think they will. I do think they beat Kansas, but I think it's going to be a pretty close game within 10 points, maybe 14, depending on how that game goes.
48-38.
Yeah. If you want fireworks and you want a lot of scoring, this would probably be the game I would circle. Because, I think Kansas has at least the second best quarterback room in the Big 12 with
I agree.
Daniels and Bean. They return all of their running backs, which they had a bevy of running backs that were very good last year. I think they have I think they lost 1 offensive lineman to the draft, and they have all their wide receivers and tight ends. So,
if I stand corrected, I think it's Devin Neal, number 4. He's
nodding his head back there.
He's all Big 12. He's saying yes, all Big 12. I believe
He's
first
a good.
team
He is
this
a.
season.
Yeah, he's a stud. So, yeah, just because it's Kansas don't mean you mark it up. I mean, dude, when Jalen Hurts was in Oklahoma in 2019 and they went to the college football playoff, if you remember that Kansas game, and even with Caleb Williams, I mean, those were close games for a pretty good portion of the game.
Yeah.
So, and like you said, it's at Lawrence. I think Kansas will be on a hot. Even if Kansas has 3 wins at that point, which I don't, I think they'll have more.
They will.
I think they could win 8, maybe 9 games this year. It's going to be packed. It's going to be a pretty ruckus environment.
Do we all agree that OU beats Kansas? Close game.
Right. Yep. Yeah. So
Okay.
November 4th at Oklahoma State, Bedlam. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not worried about that game at all. I'm not.
And here's the thing. I agree with you. They've lost a lot of guys, transfer portal. But at the same time, how many times have you had Oklahoma State go under 500? They usually don't do that under Mike Gundy.
Right.
Okay. And I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. Historically, we have not had an issue with Oklahoma State. They beat us once every blue moon or
Usually when Jupiter makes a rotation around the sun, that's about the time Oklahoma State beats us. And I think that's once every 30 years or so, or however long.
roughly, yeah.
Saturn's in retrograde or some shit.
And that's about it. So, I mean, we're at Stillwater. Yes, it could be a hostile environment, but I think we pull through. I think we have a much better roster than what Oklahoma State has. And I'll just keep it at that.
That's fine. Emerson, what about you?
Yeah. I think the only big thing is that it's in Stillwater, and it's the last meeting between these two for the foreseeable future. So,
Right.
I think the environment will be interesting. I think it could be a night game. Definitely if Oklahoma State, has 6 wins by that point in the season. But, I mean, yeah, Oklahoma should take care of business. Especially if they're a disciplined football team, then I don't see Oklahoma having a problem.
And Trace Ford will probably
getting past
have
the
about
Pokes.
18.5 sacks that game.
Yeah, yes. Trace Ford's going to be amped up. Yeah, that'll be fun to watch for sure.
All right, let's move to BYU.
West Virginia. November 11th.
I missed one.
It's all right. West Virginia. At Oklahoma, West Virginia.
I think we get a revenge. I think West Virginia. It's a team that could sneak up on you. It is.
We saw that last year.
But I mean, I think OU is going to be a much better football team than what they were a year ago.
Yeah, I think Neil Brown, he kind of knows he's out the door. I bet his players probably know that he's out the door after this season, especially if they do not do well. If they're sitting, what is it, 2-5 or 3-4 at this point in the season, I don't think a win against Oklahoma is saving his career like it did last year. And you got to remember, I mean, if Marvin Mims catches the ball in the fourth quarter against West Virginia, Oklahoma walks out of West Virginia with a win. They lost like some of their best skill guys to the draft and free agency. So yeah, I don't think West Virginia is going to be anything to be too concerned about, especially if Oklahoma seems like they're a disciplined team and they're taking care of business. I think they get the dub against West Virginia.
So, and then after that, they're at BYU, and that can be a tough one, man. That can be a trap game, especially if TCU's doing really good.
Yeah.
Who knows what BYU's record is at that point? They're not expected to do a whole lot, but as we've seen in the past, predictions don't mean a damn thing. Preseason predictions don't mean anything. So at this point, you could have Oklahoma sitting at one loss, looking forward to TCU on the bubble to maybe make the college football playoff, depending on what they do if they make the Big 12 championship. But that could be a trap game.
No,
it really could.
Clearly.
Yep.
And what I've heard is this game's nearly already sold out. It's a great environment, and their fans are passionate. Obviously, OU fans are passionate as well, and they want to make the trip because it's a great environment and it's a great stadium to be in. And we even had that consideration of maybe even trying to go to that game just because of the atmosphere. But I think OU
literally once in a lifetime.
Yeah, for sure. But I think OU just has the more deep roster. I think they win by maybe 14 points. I think it's fairly a close game, and I think it's a game that kind of creeps up on us, like you said.
And I've been waiting to get them back since 2009.
Yeah.
In the Dallas Cowboys Stadium, we lost 14-13, and our first 4 games were 1-point losses and shutouts. Anyway, go ahead, Emerson. I'm gonna get worked up.
God,
I broke
dude.
the couch.
Don't get me. Gerald McCoy. Oh my God, what a stud fucking defense.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Anyway, with BYU, they could be not good as far as their record is concerned, but you're playing in their place. It's the only time Oklahoma and BYU are probably ever going to play for a long time, unless the bowl lineup matches up. But you got to realize when you're going into BYU, you're playing grown-ass men. It's kind of like how Kansas State is. They play physical. Yeah. They're going to run the ball on you. They're going to manipulate the clock how they see fit, and because all these guys, they're fucking 28 years old. They're damn near, a veteran in the NFL status as far as age goes on this roster. So it'll be interesting to see. It's kind of hard to predict because it's so late in the season, but I expect a physical game with BYU, and I think
it could be close the first 3 quarters, man.
If I was going to because I think Oklahoma will go 9-3. I'm just going to say that right now. I think they lose to Texas, and then maybe Kansas. BYU is another big one that I'm circling because of the physicality. Hopefully, you would think Brent Venables will get that turned around, and Oklahoma will be a physical team that's ready to get down in the mud on those kind of games. But if not, if they're kind of soft like they had, like the Lincoln Riley era was, then it could definitely get interesting.
You take a BYU?
Yeah, if I'm going to go with 9-3 and I have them beating Kansas, then yeah, I think BYU they lose.
Cool. Okay. So, last game of the season, TCU in Norman.
This one's very iffy. Obviously, a season ago, TCU wasn't expected to make it to the national championship game, but they did. They also lose Garrett Riley. They also lose a whole bunch of weapons on offense: Max Duggan, Quentin Johnston, and a bunch of receivers.
And that running back that was good.
Yeah.
I don't know his name.
I want to say it was like Zach Evans. I could be wrong.
Yeah, it might be. I'll look it up.
But anyways, I mean, I still think TCU is going to be a top-tier team in the Big 12, and I see them going like maybe an 8-5, 9-3 kind of a schedule. But I feel like Oklahoma squeaks this one out at home, and it's a close one. It's by about 3 to 4 points. Okay, I think they have a lot of revenge going into it based on the circumstances that happened a year ago when Dylan Gabriel gets injured and they completely blow out Oklahoma. I think they're going to remember that, and I think they're going to be looking forward to that. But with that being said, I still see Oklahoma being, a 10-2 type of team. They could go 9-3. In the games that I have highlighted, TCU is one of those games. BYU is one of those games. Kansas, UCF, Cincinnati, Texas. Those are all the games that I think it could go either way, but Oklahoma should be the favorite. I don't know. TCU very well could go into Norman and could upset Oklahoma. But I still think Oklahoma should be expected to win every single game besides Texas.
So what do you got? Oklahoma?
I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Overall, I do have Oklahoma, but it's by 3 to 4 points.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I have Nightmare Fuel from what was it, like 2014 or was it 15? When you guys know, I think it was 14 when TCU came out of nowhere and beat Oklahoma.
Oh,
Their running back that they lost was Kendre Miller.
Okay.
So they still, Zach Evans might have transferred.
Okay.
So I don't know if they have like a stud at running back, but they have Chandler Morris, right?
Yes.
Am I wrong?
Yes.
They still have
who was previously on the OU roster, and who actually
Yes,
started
exactly.
ahead of Max Duggan going into the season, but he got injured, and Max Duggan just happened to go off.
Yeah. So we know Chandler Morris. He's very athletic. He can throw the ball. So if I'm going with Oklahoma, going 9-3, which I think they do. I think they lose to Texas, and then they drop 2 kind of random ones. Then I would have to go with TCU just because they have a good quarterback. I think they return a lot of offense or a lot of talent on defense. And they only lost a couple guys as far as key pieces on the offense with Kendre Miller, Quentin Johnston, and Max Duggan. So, and if TCU's rolling by the end of the year, then they're going to be hard to stop. And they would love nothing more than to beat Oklahoma in their home stadium to end the last Big 12. Yeah. So, I'll say this right now. I think even with a 9-3 record, Oklahoma has a chance of playing in the Big 12 championship because I think the Big 12 is going to be that competitive, and it's going to they're going to beat each other up in the regular season. So I don't think 3 losses puts a nail in the coffin for you as far as playing in the Big 12 championship. And Texas, they're the best team in the Big 12, but they'll lose to Iowa State or K-State or whoever the hell they play, some random ass game.
Okay. So you're saying
I think TCU. Yeah, I think if I'm going with 9-3, I think TCU. I think they end the season on a 2-game losing streak with BYU and TCU.
So you're gonna say Oklahoma will be maybe at the number 2-3 slot bubble for getting into the Big 12.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, maybe number 3 with a tiebreaker, kind of like the 2008 kind of deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got 9-3. Me and Nick got 11-1.
I've got. Here's the thing. I say that these are expected wins.
Right.
But I'm gonna go with 10-2. I think they drop one of these
random
games
one.
because it's Oklahoma and these things happen throughout the season.
I get
it's
it.
unexpected. So I'm gonna go officially a 10-2, but they should be favored in every single game besides Texas.
Right. I get it. So I'm gonna say.
I agree with that. Yeah.
I'm gonna say.
Except 9-3. I think they lose 2.
Yeah.
2 of those random games.
Right. I'm gonna say. Sorry, I'm texting. I'm gonna say.
Great podcasting, folks.
I know. Well, we did have an error earlier, but whatever.
We did, yeah.
Might be
Forgive us
edited
for
out,
that.
might not be. Either way, if you don't, Adam, you don't have to. You don't have to edit it out because that's just the real world thing. Okay. I'm gonna say Oklahoma goes 11-1. I'm gonna say they make the Big 12 championship. I'm gonna say they either play Texas, they play, or Kansas State. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Texas, Kansas State, Texas Tech is what
Maybe.
I would have.
Right. And I don't see Oklahoma winning the Big 12 championship. I'm going to say Oklahoma's 11-2 with a loss to Texas and a loss in the Big 12 championship. And they're going to get a New Year's Six Bowl bid. That's what
fair.
I got.
That's reasonable. That's reasonable.
Yeah.
So let's
Compared to where Oklahoma was last year, I would take that in a heartbeat.
So, with that being said, do you got anything else to wrap it up on, Nick? Emerson?
No. think good.
We can all agree that Oklahoma's going to make an improvement from last year to this year.
Very much
Yes.
so. Very much so. So
Yes.
Okay.
don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and tell us what your guys' opinion is. So that
Cool.
being said, Boomer.
Sooner.